Imagine you're standing in the center of like a massive, crowded arena, just tens of thousands of people out there, and the silence is completely deafening.
Oh man, just that heavy, expectant silence.
Exactly. And they are all just staring right at you, waiting for you to justify your existence, to prove, yet again, that you're good enough.
Even though you've already proven it 100 times over.
Right. You've already passed every single test they could possibly throw at you.
Yeah.
But they want, like, one more performance.
One more piece of evidence.
Yeah, but instead of giving them what they want, you look at them, you draw a line in the dirt, and you completely step out of the game.
You just walk away.
Welcome to the deep dive. Because that ultimate breathtaking refusal is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're looking at chapter 33 of the Ramayana.
And specifically, we're zooming in on the climax where Sita returns to the earth.
Which is just such a powerful moment.
Yeah.
We're treating this scene not just as a mythological event, right? But as a real masterclass in human dignity.
Oh, absolutely. It's about the limits of endurance and what actually happens when true goodness just stops seeking validation from a world that, quite frankly, doesn't deserve it.
It totally is. And to even begin to grasp the emotional weight of that refusal, of that moment, she just says, no, we really have to rewind to her origins.
Yeah, we have to start the very beginning. Because Sita wasn't just, a princess born in a palace. She was literally born of nature.
Right, which is wild to think about.
It is. King Janaka, who is her earthly father, he actually discovered her as an infant lying in a plow furrow. He was ritually tilling the soil, and there she was.
So she literally came from the dirt. Like, she is intrinsically tied to the earth from day one.
Exactly. The earth itself is her mother, and that is a foundational, yet somehow often overlooked mechanism that drives this entire narrative we're going to explore.
It sets up the whole conflict, really.
It really does, because she is a child of nature, right? Operating by these immutable, solid laws of truth. And suddenly she's forced to navigate a world governed by rigid, constantly shifting human expectations.
And man, those human expectations were unimaginably brutal. I mean, if we look at Sita's track record leading up to this climax, it is flawless.
Completely spotless.
But I think we need to define what flawless actually means in this context. Because she wasn't just some naive royal who went along with things.
No, not at all. She was highly educated.
Right. She received this incredibly rigorous education from great sages. She deeply studied the Vedas, which are, these ancient foundational texts of philosophy and science.
She was a brilliant scholar in her own right.
Exactly. And then she joyfully chooses Rama. Like, she knows he is her equal. But when Rama is abruptly exiled to the forest for 14 years, basically due to toxic court politics, she doesn't even hesitate.
Which is just incredible. She actively chooses to go with him into exile.
Yeah, and that choice tells us everything we need to know about her character, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, she willingly trades royal silks for rough garments made of bark. She sleeps on the ground. She braves the harsh weather. And it's not out of, blind subservience.
That's a choice.
Exactly. It's out of a profound, conscious devotion. She fully commits to the harsh reality of the forest.
Which unfortunately sets the stage for the ultimate nightmare, because she is eventually kidnapped by the demon king, Ravana.
And just a quick note on the sources here for you listening. This epic is so massive. It's essentially a foundational text across all of Asia.
Yeah, the scale of it is hard to overstate.
Totally. So depending on whether you're reading the Indian Ramayana or, say, the Thai adaptation, the Ramakien, the names shift. So Ravana is also known as Tatsaken.
Right, and later we'll hear Thai names for her sons and the earth goddess too.
Exactly. But the emotional core, that remains identical across all versions. While she's held captive in his island fortress of Lanka, she undergoes just intense psychological warfare.
And she rejects all of it. I mean, she refuses the immense wealth he offers, she refuses the comfort, and she absolutely doesn't bend to his daily threats against her life.
She maintains this absolute purity and loyalty under conditions that are literally designed to break the human mind.
It's astounding. So you'd think her eventual rescue by Rama and his army would be this moment of triumphant reunion, right? Like the happy ending.
You would think so, but the mechanism of human suspicion just completely overrides the joy. To prove her purity to the world, just because she was living in another man's fortress, she is subjected to the Agni Pariksha.
The fire test.
Yeah.
And for the listener, this isn't a metaphor. She literally walks into a blazing inferno.
She walks right into the flames, and this is where the mechanics of the mythology deeply clash with human psychology.
How so?
Well, Agni Pariksha is the ultimate divine lie detector test, right? Agni, the god of fire, physically manifests to shield her, and he emerges to declare her absolutely pure.
I mean, in any logical, legal, or moral system, a divine witness closes the case. Period.
You'd think that would be the end of it. The god of fire said she's pure.
But divine proof doesn't actually solve the human problem. And this is where I think of the modern concept of moving the goalpost.
Oh, that is the perfect analogy.
Right. Because for you listening, imagine a time you did exactly what was asked of you to prove your loyalty or, your competence. You passed the most extreme test imaginable, literally walking through fire. But society still whispers.
The gossip just doesn't stop people in the Capitol or murmuring like, well, she was in his house for a really long time.
It's so frustrating.
No.
And it highlights this massive political crisis known as Rajadharma, doesn't it?
Yes. Rajadharma is the absolute duty a king owes to his subjects. And because of it, Rama is completely trapped.
Because public perception is everything.
Exactly. A king's power in that era, much like the power of a modern public figure today, relied heavily on that fragile thread of public perception and moral authority.
Right. If the citizens question his judgment, and they question the purity of the queen, the entire state threatens a fracture.
So Rama's duty to the state ends up overriding his own personal knowledge of her innocence. He knows she passed the divine test. He was there. But the optics are terrible.
And that terrible PR forces him into a corner where he makes what has to be just the most agonizing decision of his life. He banishes her.
He sends her right back into the wild, terrifying forest that she had just escaped from.
And the detail that really twists the knife here, the thing that is just heartbreaking, is that she is pregnant with his children at the time.
The injustice of that moment, it really cannot be overstated. A woman who endured captivity, who literally walked through fire, is cast out simply to appease baseless public paranoia.
It's infuriating. But she ends up finding refuge in the remote ashram of the great sage Valmiki.
Right. And an ashram is essentially a spiritual hermitage. It's a place of extreme simplicity, far removed from society, where people focus entirely on meditation and learning.
And it turns out to be the perfect environment for what happens next. Because we see this profound psychological pivot in Sita. She gives birth to twin sons, Lava and Kushor, as they're known in the Thai tradition, Frolop and Framankut.
And she raises them entirely alone in this hermitage.
Yes. But the most striking note in all of our sources is what she doesn't do.
Oh, this is fascinating.
She never speaks of her own trauma. She never teaches her sons to harbor even an ounce of anger or hatred toward Rama.
Instead, she focuses entirely on their education. She specifically dedicates her life to teaching them Dharma.
And I just have to pause here because this challenges, every single human instinct.
It really goes against the grain of what we'd expect.
Right. For you listening, imagine this level of betrayal. You walk through a literal inferno for someone, and they banish you into the wild while you're carrying their children, all because they're worried about their poll numbers.
It sounds impossible not to be consumed by bitterness.
Exactly. Why wouldn't she teach her kids to resent the man who abandoned them? Why not turn them against him? It's what most people would do.
It feels totally counterintuitive, but if we look at the psychological mechanics of her choice, it is a demonstration of supreme agency.
How do you mean?
Well, true strength here isn't about fighting a public relations war against Rama. Her strength is in protecting her own dignity, and crucially, her children's moral compass.
Ah, I see.
If she teaches them hatred, she allows the injustice done to her to literally infect the next generation.
So she is actively breaking the cycle of trauma.
Precisely. She draws an absolute boundary. And when we say she teaches them Dharma, I think we really need to demystify that word for a second.
Yeah, it's a heavy word. What does it actually mean here?
Dharma isn't just being good. It is the concept of cosmic order, of duty and righteousness. It's the unbreakable contract of how you operate ethically in the universe.
Wow. So she's given them a foundation that's bigger than their father's mistakes.
Exactly. She gives them an ethical armor so strong that their father's failure won't crack their foundation.
She ensures they grow up whole, totally unburdened by a bitterness they didn't even earn. And her strategy works flawlessly, right?
It really does. They grow up to be these brilliant, incredibly capable young men.
But of course, this peaceful, resilient life she has carefully built from the ashes is suddenly shattered.
Because Rama encounters the teenage twins during a royal event.
Right. He realizes they are his sons, and he brings them back to his capital city, Ayodhya. And this is where we hit the climax. He issues a devastating summons to Sita.
He asks her to return to the capital, but of course it comes with a condition.
There's always a condition.
Always. He states that he needs her to prove her purity to the public one more time. He wants the entire kingdom, all those doubting citizens, to see her virtue definitively so she can rightfully resume her place as the queen.
So he's essentially asking her to be a political prop.
That's exactly what it is.
He knows she's innocent, but he needs the kingdom to witness a spectacle to secure his throne. And the visual setup described in our sources for this trial is incredibly cinematic.
Oh, it's designed to be the ultimate pressure cooker.
Totally. The sky is completely cloudless. There's this gentle breeze. You have kings, nobles, sages, thousands of citizens, and even the guys in heaven literally looking down.
The stage is set for the biggest public judgment imaginable.
And then Sita enters the courtyard.
And the visual contrast here is what always strikes me.
Tell me about it.
Well, you have the court just dripping in gold and opulence, right? It represents the complicated, messy, highly conditional world of human society.
All the politics and wealth.
Exactly. And then Sita arrives, but she doesn't come dressed as a queen trying to look the part or, win favor.
Right, she's not playing the game.
She arrives in simple, unadorned white clothing. No makeup, no jewelry. Her hair is just tied up simply. Yet the text notes she radiates a power that makes the crowd feel she isn't merely human.
Like her beauty is radiating from within, and there's absolutely no fear in her step.
None. She represents pure, unadulterated truth stepping into a room full of compromise.
I love that phrasing.
She walks right to the center of the courtyard, surrounded by thousands of curious faces, skeptical nobles, silent sages, and she looks at Rama.
And Rama's eyes are full of love, but also this deep, tragic pain. Because he knows what he's doing.
He does. He's asking her to sacrifice her dignity one last time to satisfy an audience that just has an endless hunger for proof.
And notice how Sita handles this. She doesn't respond with a screaming match. She doesn't hurl insults at the crowd, which, let's be honest, we all might do.
Right, it would be so easy to just rage at them.
But she doesn't. She responds with a quiet boundary that is far, far more devastating. She speaks in this clear voice that just rings across the courtyard.
She declares her lifelong, unwavering love for Rama.
Yeah, she confirms that her heart was always his, even in captivity. But then she looks down at the ground and she delivers the ultimate, I am done.
It's so powerful. She acknowledges her own limits. She tells the assembly that she understands Rama's duty as a king and the heavy burden he carries.
She's not even angry with him.
No, she isn't. But she says she has proven herself over and over through trials of fire and years of exile until she is entirely out of energy.
She is just exhausted down to her soul. She realizes that the goalposts will literally never stop moving.
If she proves it today, they'll just ask for proof again in a decade.
Exactly. She is declaring that true purity requires no further proof.
It is a radical acceptance of her own worth, completely independent of anyone else's validation. She just refuses to sacrifice her inner truth for the sake of a public that fundamentally misunderstands her.
Which triggers the climax of the entire epic. She makes a vow, but importantly, it's not a vow to the people.
No, it's to her mother.
She says, if my purity is true, let the earth, my true mother, take me back.
And the mechanism of the earth's response here is fascinating.
Right. It's not what you'd expect.
It's not a violent earthquake. It isn't a disaster meant to punish the crowd. The source describes the ground trembling gently.
Almost like the planet itself is just waking up from a deep sleep to answer its child.
Exactly.
The sensory details in the text gave me chills. The ground slowly parts, and this blinding golden light emerges. And suddenly, the sterile, tense atmosphere of the courtroom is overwhelmed by the scent of rain and blooming flowers.
It completely shifts the tone of the scene.
It does. And out of this light rises a golden throne. And sitting upon it is Mother Earth herself, known in the Thai texts as Phrem Thorani.
She appears as the ultimate embodiment of spring, dressed in green, woven with flowers, and carrying a presence of immense ancient comfort.
Yes.
And she does something that profoundly shifts the emotional landscape of the story away from patriarchal demands and toward maternal grace.
She gives Sita a mother's touch. She steps down, gently wipes the tears from Sita's exhausted face, and she whispers to her, "I always knew you were pure. I have been waiting for you. It is time to come home."
It's just so moving, especially when you contrast this moment with everything Sita has endured.
Oh, definitely.
She has been surrounded by the cold, judgmental stares of society. She has been weighed and measured by rigid political expectations her entire life.
And finally, she is met with the absolute unconditional love of nature.
It's the universe stepping in to say, you don't have to perform anymore, you are enough.
Mother Earth literally rescues her from the exhausting, endless demands of humanity.
And the reaction from the courtroom is, as you can imagine, absolute shock.
People drop to their knees weeping. The gods bow their heads, and Rama finally realizes the catastrophic cost of his request.
He realizes he pushed too far.
Yeah. He jumps from his throne, his voice is trembling, and he runs toward the chasm. He reaches out to grab her hand to try and stop her.
But Sita gives him one last look, and it is a look that conveys, like, centuries of emotion without a single word.
It's a look of love, though, right?
It is. She confirms that she loves him and that her soul is tied to his across different worlds. But she sits down on the golden throne beside her mother.
Because she has drawn her line.
Exactly. She cannot and will not stay in a world that demands she constantly justify her own goodness.
So the golden throne begins to sink. The light fades, and that beautiful scent of rain dissipates. Rama dives forward to catch her the final second, but his hands just grasp empty air.
He misses her entirely.
The earth closes up seamlessly. There's not even a scar on the ground. It is as if the earth simply swallowed the truth, leaving the humans completely alone with their politics.